Welcome to the New Monks. This podcast is dedicated to those of us on the journey of evolution. Through these episodes, we will dive into the lives of individual people and discover what they have learnt and how they have handled their growth. We believe that we all have wisdom to be shared with each other and can learn from listening to each other's stories. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel and Apple Podcasts, Spotify. If you feel like leaving us a review and sharing the love, that would be greatly appreciated. So this is just a heads up because, there's a lot of information that is coming to light at the moment, and through these episodes, each person is going to share a different side of that for them. Now, this isn't to say that every single thing that is shared here is going to be 100% accurate, It's just not where we are right now. It's just not the case of the unraveling and the disclosures that are being revealed to us. Obviously, things are always changing, and in one moment something can be so real and so true, and the next moment is completely shifted and changed into something else. This is the journey of evolution. This is the journey of ascension that we are going through right now. So this is just an invitation that your discernment is really, really important. As always, as usual, please take what resonates and leave the rest. Thank you. Hi, and welcome back to the New Monks podcast. In this episode, I'm speaking to Elisha, who is from Melbourne. And this is a really beautiful conversation where she basically describes how her whole life, her entire life, she's been healing her trauma that happened from birth, and she had memories of it. And it was very confusing until years after years, it became a lot clearer and it was very obvious. And now she speaks from the space of such clarity in her journey and what happened in her life and what's happening in the world now and where she is currently. And it's just been amazing to speak to someone who has done so much healing, and especially with the abandonment wound, which can be so deep and profound and difficult to overcome for so many people. So I hope this story can inspire you. And in a way, I feel like we all have the abandonment wound. So yeah, to inspire us all that this healing is possible, and moving to new states of consciousness and awareness and being is very real, and it's possible for all of us. Enjoy the episode. Thank you. Hi, Elisha. Thank you so much for being here. Again, I found you on Instagram, and yeah, I'm really looking forward to this conversation. I feel like a lot of your posts are really I don't know, they really cut through. So, and I feel like I've kind of seen over the past few years, you kind of went through a shift as well.
Yeah,
what you're sharing. So yeah, I'd love to hear more. But before we begin, if we can just take a few deep breaths in and out, and then we can begin. And then just tell us how you're feeling right now.
very clear.
Yeah, I feel like that is exactly the feeling that I get from what you share.
Thank you.
Yeah, clarity is such a big one, I think. But it's been really cool for me. It's been something that's developed over time.
Yeah, it takes time to arrive there, and you have to keep arriving there again and again and again.
Yeah. And because I feel like at some point it can just be really clouded, you know?
Very much so. It depends because we're not static. And so it depends what's moving through you in the moment. And of course, we're influenced by what's going on around us as well. So nothing's ever static, everything's always shifting.
Yeah. But it's amazing when, like, I feel like for me, there was definitely moments where it was just like, oh my word, it makes sense now. You know, did you have
Hmm.
that?
Yeah, very much so.
And it's true, it takes time.
Hmm.
Mm.
Yeah, we very much, there's a natural titration to the way we move through things. And so um, the layers remove themselves in coherence with what your system is ready for. And so when you're ready for more releases, so more can come through.
Mm. Yeah, that makes sense, doesn't it? And I feel like
Hmm.
sometimes we might want it sooner, but it's like it's all dependent on the body, you know?
Very much so. Yeah, you have to have the capacity,
Yep.
um, because that's its own form of consciousness, and it's really storing and holding a lot of what we are, and it's especially really storing and holding a lot of the things in previous moments we haven't been ready to meet and hold in consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you've got a backlog there, which we all do, um, that needs its time to literally clear out to make the space so more of you can be held and opened into.
Mm-hmm. So I'd love to hear about your journey and how you found yourself onto this path, talking about consciousness and
Um, I I'm really not sure where to start because it's really innate to who I was always gonna be this time around. Like
mm,
if I think back to when I was a child, I loved things like mythology, astrology, things like that. I always have been captivated by the things which have come from the imagination. I love art, I love creative work, and I've just always felt this sense that the real things going on are the things behind the eye. And so I've very much always been drawn to, I guess, what I'd call the inner journey. I've read a lot from when I was a child. I used to read a lot as a child. And yeah, I've always been drawn in deeper and deeper and deeper. And um, yeah, big life events in terms of trauma. And when that happens,
mm,
um, there's a time where there's shutdown, and then there's a time where there's the recognition this isn't life, it's coping, and whatever there is beyond this, I need to find it and move towards it. And so, I think trauma for anyone is a huge catalyzer because once you're ready to begin making the journey towards really meeting that with your consciousness, um, there's no you begin entering into a journey where there's less places to hide from yourself inside. And yeah, it's a pretty wild ride once you get on that ride. It's quite amazing to begin to witness the sophistication of the way our systems function beyond our state of recognition for a significant part of, I guess, what you call like your day to day life. And once you do start witnessing that, it naturally leads to not only a perceptual shift within yourself, but a big one, like a perceptual shift with the nature of reality and the functioning of consciousness itself. And so, I guess, said a little more simply, one thing leads to the other until you enter more and more deeply into yourself, aligned with your whole system's readiness to be able to do that.
Mm. So, but how did you like discover this whole thing about trauma? And you said, yeah, recognizing that that's not it. There's more, you know. I think something along those lines, like.
Um, I had a pretty extensive period of what you would describe as symptoms of pretty severe dissociation. And some people can do that for pretty much a lifetime, but I think
Yeah.
it was so significant that it, for me, it had to lead to the awareness at a certain point that this isn't life. And if you want life, you need to start looking beyond this, even if you don't know what to do and even if it's scary.
Mm, mm.
And so it just began there with one small step after the next.
This isn't life, but even that is, you know, like where does that come from?
Well, that's the thing. Like, ultimately, really, where does anything come from? And people like to talk about this, but if everyone were completely honest, we really don't know. And I actually find that
Yeah.
beautiful. Some people find that threatening, some people find that interesting. I mean, there's a whole range of reactions to that. I find it beautiful. I'm not someone that,
Mm.
well, I want to know all the nuts and bolts. Like, there's quite a beauty to be found in living in harmony with the mystery of that
Yes.
and not, yeah, not needing, well, give me the manual. I want the manual. Like, I want to see how this whole thing was made. Show me. And yeah, I think things arrive within us from parts of ourselves beyond what we recognize as being here right now. And that was definitely a point in time where a bigger part of something that's
Mm.
me and beyond me was stepping in to say, well, it's your time to move out of this now. You can't stay here.
Love that. Mm. That's so cool. So was this like trauma from the childhood mainly?
Yeah, I had pretty severe birth trauma, so it started from the literally the entry moment, and then had a lot of stuff with the body that went chronic, and yeah, it was a really big journey to come into healing with both of those things.
So with the birth, did you? How did you recognize that? Like, is it something that you remembered?
It's really wild because something I'm quite passionate about. A lot of people, even so-called experts, will still say that we don't have that level of imprinting at that point in time.
Yeah.
Some, depending on like um, the nature of the person, I've seen some psychologists who explain we do and why, but I've seen other people who call them experts in different fields still believe we don't. I can say from my own experience, I knew things my whole life before I found out about them. And so that's there, it's somewhere. And I've experienced that for myself. And
Sorry,
I
what do you mean
couldn't,
by that? You knew things that you experienced.
I knew, I knew things about my birth
Uh,
that I didn't know, as in heard the information somewhere from.
you
I had, yeah, like I had memories and
okay.
things which would come up through the body. And yeah, as I was saying, a lot of experts believe things like that aren't possible. Well, I can say they are because I've lived that. And
Hmm.
when I found the actual information out, it's
Later
like, oh, that's what that was.
was.
I knew it. Like I knew this.
Mm,
Hmm.
wow. I mean, yeah, the birth thing is definitely it's such a huge thing. I feel like there's a big movement happening at the moment with like trauma that
Mm,
happens because it's quite common, you
yeah.
know. And I don't know, it's crazy to think about it, like how painful it is, and you know, that we come in screaming, and it's so normal. And I question it for sure. Like, is that normal? Like, is that what it's supposed to be like? You know,
Mm,
because probably the
yeah.
thing for so many of us. Mm,
It's huge, and it's certainly not my area of expertise, but like I have learned a reasonable amount about it. And even just, when you think about things for yourself, in terms of like an infant from birth, conceptually speaking, they're still in a place that they and the mother are one.
yeah.
And so if anything happens that they're not getting to bond or be with the mother, even just a lot of things that are taken for granted, we're not supposed to cut the cord the way we
Yes.
do. The woman's supposed to birth the placenta. There's a lot of stuff, a lot of stuff that is standard practice that is actually
Yeah.
um, potentially quite significantly trauma inducing.
Yeah. Totally. So many things. Is there anything that you wanted to share about that, particularly for you, how you like discovered that it was a big trauma for you?
Not like specifically in terms of personal details or story. I guess the thing that comes through me to share about it is just if you've felt to share with anyone listening is that if you've felt things that just don't make sense, um,
Mm,
you don't need to believe from strangers telling you that that's not possible. If you feel something, there's a reason that you feel it, and you can trust that. And when you feel ready to, that you've got the support or the capacity within yourself, I'd encourage people to explore that and not shut that down just because yeah, where it's yet another thing in society that we're discouraged from believing is possible. Yeah, and just sharing from my own experience, I can say we do remember these things. We don't store them the way we store memories once we
Mm,
develop psychologically, but it's
mm.
there. Like it's absolutely there. Everything's there. There's thing we begin storing in utero. Everything's there.
Everything is there.
Hmm.
Wow. Yeah. Wow. That's just such a different perspective. It's like, we are so intelligent. Everything is there right from the day we arrive.
Hmm. I mean,
Yeah.
how could it not be? Like,
Yeah.
look at a look at a simple thing. You know how you get that odd feeling that you know when someone's looking at you, and then you turn and they are, or when you get goosebumps on your arm. That's our biology. We absorb everything. And
Mm.
so, why would it be different just because we're a smaller version of ourselves? Like, there
Yeah.
isn't just like a boom checkpoint. Okay, now we begin absorbing it. It's
Yeah.
happening from the moment of inception.
Yeah, totally. There's such an important like reminder. And especially because so much is imprinted from young age.
Mm, mm-hmm.
So how did you embark on that healing from that place when you like recognize that all of your internal like knowings were true?
Honest answer, it's been huge and it's been in
Mm,
stages. First, it's been somatic stuff, because you really need to build the capacity to get deeper. And then there's just been, I guess the best way to describe them is energetic initiations over the years, when it's been time to meet those, I'd call them energetic memories with my consciousness. And
mm,
yeah, things like that, especially big things like that, they happen when you're ready. We're very, like, as an organism, we're very self protective. And
yeah,
unless you're really, really, really not listening to yourself, you're not going to get pushed into things beyond your readiness.
yeah. So when did that start as well? Like, so was it like in your adult years, or was it always from early age?
Probably from adolescence, I really began, there was an unavoidable sense of something's off and I need to start moving towards understanding what's going on here.
Mm. And it was when the something is off, was it just in your body or
Hmm. Yes, but also deeper.
mm,
More energetic as well.
yeah, but energetic as well? Or was it is that also connected to your body, or was it also just like I'm just thinking, was it also like externally what's happening out there?
Well, I wasn't thinking of that when I said that, but definitely that
Okay.
as
Oh
well.
wow.
Because when you understand how to watch, the external will show you exactly what's going on internally. And
Mm,
then after enough, um, certain things became unavoidable. And yeah, things became very like certain. If you look for it, certain themes and patterns develop, and if you're watching for that, you're like, okay, I can get. I'm starting to get a sense here now of some things going on, and I'm starting to get an idea of what this is about.
Mm, mm. Yeah, I mean, I guess ultimately it's always connected anyway.
Hmm. Yeah.
So, and then, um, I mean, that's fascinating that you had those memories from birth. I- I've heard of other people as well having those. So,
I have as well. Yeah.
yeah. And then, was it something that was like when you were very young that came to you, or was it a bit older, you know?
It was always there, and
Mm.
then it just got clearer and
Yes.
more. It started over the years. It started moving more and more towards consciousness.
What do you mean by that? Just
Um, well, you can feel off and not know why,
why?
and if that's the case, something in you isn't ready to know why yet. And
Whew.
so, yeah, as I began, I guess said very simply, what I was doing without realizing it, I was preparing myself to know why.
Wow.
And that's what was going on while I was trying to understand. I knew I needed to heal, but I didn't really know
Mm.
why or from what. And as I began exploring that, that started soothing and resolving enough things for things to begin making their way to the surface.
Mm. Yeah, that is definitely something that happened for me.
Hmm.
It felt something felt off, and it was a very clear change and shift that happened in my body, but I didn't
Hmm.
know why. And for years, I didn't know why.
Hmm.
Took a long time,
Yeah. Yeah.
but I love that it's because you weren't ready to know yet.
Hmm. Yeah. Very much so.
Yeah. So then, and also that's just that is like the healing path. Ultimately, that's how it works. Yeah.
Hmm. Hmm.
And then you were saying like growing up as well, the trauma was, it sounded a bit like maybe self-worth related to that.
Not
Uh,
not quite that. There was a lot of confusion because I didn't. The feeling was there, but I didn't have the information.
um, and then, and then in your adolescence, it came clearer.
Hmm. Yeah.
Is that when it formed? It was like this is the trauma.
Yes. Yeah.
Mm.
That was the beginning point of like, oh, so this is what it is. This is what it's about.
So this the unraveling from the birth, was that causing other things? Because you said the confusion. There was a lot of confusion. I mean, I totally resonate with that as well. I as well for years there was so much
Hmm.
confusion. I was like, what's going on?
Well, I would share it this way, like in an optimal situation, um, every child would be bonding with their family for actually quite an extended period of time. And there's no judgment on this, but that's very uncommon now, the way modern life has shaped. And then if there's anything that disrupts that significantly, this is a pretty big statement, but you're essentially going to have disruption to what forms the foundation to not only a lot of your inner processes, but
Mm-hmm.
what gets established in you to begin the process of you forming what comes to be the sense of self. And so, if there's disruption to that, which it's pretty much most modern births, there's going to be disruption to the natural process of birthing the self. That's very
Mm-hmm.
disrupted in modern life. And then if there's severe or traumatic disruption to that, um, it's quite a place that you're in that you need to rebuild from, because you haven't had
Mm-hmm.
foundational energetic structures installed in you. And so it's a pretty big thing, to be honest. It's
Yeah.
not, it doesn't mean people can't um recover from that, but it's a pretty big thing to recover from.
Mm. Yeah. I like the way that you described it there because, well, it's just amazing that you've taken it. I mean, obviously it's your experience, but all the way back to birth, because I think a lot of people, they don't have those memories and that connection to what happened. But it is something that a lot of us have been through 100%, because
Hmm.
some of the ways are very unnatural that we give birth. Not all of it, but yeah, and I think a lot of time when we talk about what happened and the imprints and the foundations that weren't built, it's normally like childhood and what people do remember. But then it's like,
Hmm.
well, take it all the way back, actually, you know?
Hmm.
And I agree with you, it's big. It is. It's really, really big.
Yeah, it's huge. And we do absorb everything. Like baby knows if mom's, and I'm talking in utero, baby knows if mom's stressed, baby knows if mom's scared, baby knows if mom feels like she doesn't know what to do. And it's all there. Like, yeah,
Hmm.
it's all there.
Yeah, and then also just hearing you talk about it is also like making me think about love and just, I don't know, coming in that way with the parents as well. I feel like so many of us didn't really experience love, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And like that's wild.
Yeah, yeah. It's become the standard modern birth now.
Mm,
And it's encouraging to see the awareness developing around this. And yeah, it's good because these modern science is so cold. It's very patriarchal, and it's very well, I just want to make things quick and easy. Let's look to make things as quick and easy as possible, and so you don't have to feel anything. And yeah, in an ideal setting, um a child's born into a tribe and it's got constant skin contact for a very in tribal settings. Someone's always holding a baby because the baby needs constant touch. And yeah, like, just picture what you would imagine with your stereotypical modern hospital setting, bright lights, yank them out, drugs, cutting, cut the cord, check if the baby's breathing, and yeah, it's wild. Like that's how we arrive. It's wild.
It is wild. And also what you said about the disconnection, like they take the baby away as well.
Mm.
And then all these injections.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like, what?
Mm-hmm.
And it's so wild because I think on the journey you get more sensitive to yourself and like to what's happening. So even for me to just think about that happening, like, yeah, it's like, what's going on?
Mm.
Yeah.
It's wild to me. They say that the babies don't remember. Like, think of yourself now. If like I
Yes,
shoved you into hospital and
exactly.
cut something, shoved a bright light in your face, didn't tell you what was going on, you think like, holy crap, have I been kidnapped? Have I been hijacked? Like, what
Mm,
is going on?
yeah, yeah, yeah. So was it just literally for you that the like the general stuff that happens? That's just like not really cool.
In terms of what happened to me,
Yeah.
well, I had a pretty traumatic experience, and so yeah, it was big. It's taken a lot of recovery.
Hmm. Wow. Yeah. Okay. So, are you, is it like something that you're still working through now?
No, I'm in a good place with it now.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Bless you.
Thank you.
Mm. So, I mean, I find this very interesting because it's literally from the beginning, like it's just like boom. And then from that moment, it was like something that had to be unraveled and revealed to you in the right time. Like,
Yes. Yeah,
yeah.
very much so.
But yeah, are you able to like share some part of it or because I'd love to
Um,
hear.
well, I was given away at birth and I was put into foster care for 2 months. Uh,
Mm.
yeah, a little bit over 2 months, and I wasn't well cared for during that time.
Mm. And then after the 2 months,
I was placed with a family which have raised me.
okay. Wow, I'm sure that's also something that's quite common as well.
It is.
Mm. And then, so now I see that the memories were there.
Yeah, very
Yeah,
much so.
yeah. And then they probably moved you maybe because they knew.
I'm not sure about that.
Yeah. Life is so fascinating. What you said earlier about the mystery and not trying to know. Even with my upbringing, I feel like so much of it it's such a mystery.
hmm
And trying to connect with what you remember and what you've been told.
Mm,
It's like, what actually happened? And
yeah.
for me, it's always like something I didn't know so much, and I'd always find more out about my childhood and life, and like, yeah,
Well, the tricky thing is whatever you're being told from someone else's perspective on experience as well.
so true. That's so
hmm
true. And so you've never known your parents,
I've met one of them.
so you went through that whole journey as well.
Mm, Mm-hmm.
Wow. How was that?
It was horrible.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it can be like that.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
they're not together, right?
No, they're not.
Yeah. Yeah, that's very also common. It's like you want to go and you want to connect and you're coming from the space of like healing and that person necessarily isn't on the same page, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Mm.
exactly.
So it's just like one meeting and then
We had more than one, but yeah, it did not go well.
mm. And so then you just that it's just like healing in every turn.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah,
Mm.
absolutely.
And then when was it? When did you meet?
Oh gosh. Probably probably over 15 years ago now, long time
Wow.
ago.
So it
Mm-hmm.
was very early that you also had the like want to do that as well.
I'm a very curious person, and so the curiosity was there, and probably wouldn't do things at the same pace in hindsight, but everything went the way that it needed to go ultimately.
Mm, yeah. And then how was your journey of coming to terms with the abandonment, I guess?
It was long. That's a long one. That's a big one to work through. But um, once you're through it,
Wow.
I don't know. Sometimes there's just things beyond words because I couldn't even say it's good. It's not even like that. It's just, I guess the best thing I can say is it's good and it's nice that not that it's not a part of who I am. Of course, it's always going to be a part of my story for this lifetime, but it's no longer occupying my conception of
Mm,
myself.
wow.
It's something that happened, and
Mm,
it's not um it's not overutilizing my inner space anymore. And it's lovely to be free of that and to have that inner space back.
that's amazing.
Hmm.
So obviously that must have been something that was constantly there from
Hmm.
the beginning, that was in the confusion. Something didn't feel right, as you were saying.
Hmm. Yeah, I've over the years I've met people with similar life
Mm,
stories, as tends to happen. And a dear friend said to me one day, don't you find that it's always there? And at that point in time, like that's where I was in my inner space. And um that's a really clear way to put what it feels like. It's just always in the background somewhere until until the healing. I mean, like at that point of time,
yeah.
that's what it was like. Yeah.
I mean, it's amazing that you have been through the healing and you can speak from this place now because,
Hmm.
I heard in the books that I was reading about trauma, the biggest traumas are the ones that happen before we are cognizant of them. So,
Hmm.
yeah, like it's just so amazing that you've done so much of that.
Yeah. It's been until I got to a certain point. Um, I would put it this way. It preoccupies you, and you're either ready to admit how much it is
Mm.
and do something, or you're not. But if you're not, it still doesn't change the case that it's preoccupying
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, it's just sometimes you might not be aware of it. I think that's so common with trauma.
Hmm.
So, did it affect your body in ways physically with illness and or not so much, just energetically, as you described?
It did. I had a lot of chronic pain issues, and so those two journeys went hand in hand because obviously the body's mirroring and telling the story of what's really going on.
Mm. And the chronic pain, where was it? Was it very specific
Um,
or?
Mainly back. Yeah.
And was this like since a very young age?
Yes,
Mhm.
actually. Yeah.
And so, with the healing, how is it now?
It's amazing in the sense of once you really develop what I would describe as your connection with your body consciousness, um, there's this space where you really enter into where you really do experience it as consciousness. And as that relationship has deepened, as I've healed these other things, you see the relationship and you see these parts of yourself in tandem with each other, and you see
Mm.
the body holding exactly where you're at, and it really does show you exactly where you are at internally.
Yeah.
Even a really nice practical way to share what that's like, even in the sense of like how you're holding yourself. I remember some very specific moments of noticing, oh, I hold myself differently now. And
Mm.
then just noticing that my body felt very strong, and that it had let go of the story as well.
Wow. Yeah. And for me, I notice that, over the years, there's just been this calmness that I can feel
Hmm.
that wasn't there before.
Hmm. Yes, exactly.
It's so fascinating.
Hmm.
I love the way you speak about it because it's just like so clear now. It's so clear, and that's how you started it. You said, "I feel clear."
Yes, yeah, very much so.
Oh,
Once you let go of pain, that's what you are, clear.
mm. And there's so many meanings to it. Like clear in the
Hmm.
mind, clear in the body, clear of the heaviness, clear. Yeah. Yeah, it's such what a journey.
Yeah. Yeah. It's been a big one. I picked a big one.
Yes. Yeah, totally. But it's really beautiful, like it really is, because it's dark and it's heavy and it's pain and then but we have to experience that, here.
Hmm. Hmm.
So that we
There's
know.
nothing more beautiful than really getting to know and experience what you really are
Oh.
beyond the pain.
Mm. So oh wow. The How was it then? Yeah, when you met the parent, I'd love to hear. Was it yeah, were they just still in the space of like not wanting to engage?
It wasn't that they were in their own trauma, and um,
Of course.
when you're yeah, when you're like that, when anyone's like that, you don't see clearly, and when you're in that significantly, um, it really is affecting the way you perceive and engage and communicate with everything, including yourself, including other people, and um, even including the concept of reality itself. It colors your entire experience. And so that is where they were at. And um, yeah, that's just where they were at.
So did you know that at the time, or is it something you recognized later?
Um, I knew it all energetically, and then um, the sort of order and coherence of what all that energy meant came in later.
Mm, yeah. So again, the same similar
Mm-hmm.
process.
Mm-hmm.
And so like was that painful for you at the time as well?
Yeah, very much
Mm.
so.
Yeah. Yeah, it's fascinating, isn't it? It's like
Mm-hmm.
obviously, right, we're going through all and we have to feel it, you know.
Yeah,
But now it must be such a different perspective you have and reflection of it.
completely different. Yeah, I'm in a very clear space with it all now, and um, it's just been a part of the journey this time round, and I can genuinely say that's okay. Like that's what happened to me this time round.
Yeah, amazing, powerful.
Mm-hmm.
So when was it when you got to that place of feeling like the abandonment wasn't really there in the way that it was before? How old were you?
It's been different stages and depths of stages over the years. Um, I couldn't say when the first significant part of it was. I don't
Mhm.
remember. Definitely a while ago, and then um, it's really only been the last couple of years where the very end of it has
Mm.
been met is what I would say. I had
Mm.
come a long way, and then yeah, obviously thinking about it now, um, I had done what I needed to do to get ready to sort of what I would say is meet the end of it.
Mm. So, uh, I wonder if the past few years had an effect on that because I just feel like so much changed with the earth and and this like the big shadow revealing.
Mm. Well, very much so. Where we are here, we had um, world's longest lockdown,
Yes.
and we had, I guess, the simplest and the nicest way I can put it is we had crazy time.
Mm.
And so, yeah, a lot of time um, of being in a space of, I mean, you could have numbed out and I don't know, binge watched Netflix, but for me, um, it was, well, a time of going in deeper than I'd ever gone before.
Amazing. Um, so it sounds like that for you, it was literally an unraveling that has been happening your whole life.
Yes.
Yeah. And I feel like a lot of the time when we don't know what's happening, like we don't have the words to go to it, it really affects how we operate in the world. And especially when you
Yes.
had such deep traumas, yeah. Well, how was that for you? How did it affect the way you were, you know?
Mm, it's kind of like living with the ghost in the sense of there's just always something hovering in the background, and you don't, even when you do get a bit of a sense of it, you don't completely understand what it is and why it's always there. And
Mm.
it impacts everything really, because whether you're aware of it or not, a significant portion of your focus is directed towards that because it's odd. You have an odd feeling all the time and you don't understand why. You don't completely understand how to contextualize it yet. And until you can do that, it makes it very difficult to process, integrate it, and release it. And so um, it creates an inner point of fixation until you're ready for what needs to happen so that you can meet it and release it in the way that is appropriate for you.
Hmm. I wonder, growing up, did you feel very different from other people? Because it sounds like it was always a focus. Like you said, it was always, even if you're not aware of it, it's always taking up space, you know?
I did. Some ways I felt good about that, and in some ways that was a challenging feeling.
Mm. It's interesting how like the trauma can create that.
Mm,
Because otherwise,
hmm
other people just with the, you know, I mean, it's not so common to have like parents still together, to be honest, these days. But some people do have that, and yeah, it's just a whole different experience. It gives you a whole different outlook, a whole different perspective on life, and you know.
We're living in a phase of evolution where it's become the norm that most people are parenting themselves in some way.
Yes, to give all those things that we didn't get,
Hmm.
the foundation. Yeah, so true. So also, I feel like, you know, the curiosity that you had for your own journey to discover what was happening, unfolding within you, it must have reflected specifically like over these past few years with the questioning of what's taken place, you know. Love to hear more about your journey, especially in Melbourne. Like I know it was crazy over there.
Um, it was at that point in time for me personally. I had already put my personal puzzle together around all of that, and in terms of what went on here, um, it just, I guess the simplest way I can explain is it just wrapped up whatever was left with that for me because the situation was such um an intense and heightened situation here. It created, in a sense, what I would describe as a pressure cooker environment, and um you can need that pressure has to energy needs to move in some way. It doesn't wait for anything or anyone. When energy needs to move, it finds a way to move. And you can move with it well, or you can move with it not so well. And when you move with it consciously, that's when really big things happen. And so it was quite a time of a conscious journey for me to resolve things that were ready to come to an end to be resolved.
Yeah, you can move through it well, or I feel like you can resist. And when you
Mm-hmm.
resist, it's just so much harder.
Mm-hmm.
But it's
Absolutely.
amazing. I love that you went deeper and yeah, deeper into your, and it sounds like it was really like a consolidation in a way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was quite a cocoon experience.
Yeah, man, I mean, I felt that that's what kept coming to me. It's like now is the time to do the work. Now is the time
Mm-hmm.
to look underneath the carpet, you know?
Mm-hmm. It's
Yeah.
one of the opportunities that arose out of that experience. And yeah, out of a very odd time, it did give us opportunity for acceleration in areas if that's what you choose to do with that time.
And still now as well.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, what is your perception of like what's happening in the world? Because I feel like you do speak about that as well. Um,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and your journey with that during the past few years as well, especially in Melbourne.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's very different to most people's, and I would attribute that from having gone on such a deep dive in myself. And I don't see things the way a lot of people see things. And by that, I'm aware of what's going on in the way that I need to be. Like, I keep updated on the things that I need to keep updated on. But um, a lot of people probably won't want to hear this, but I'm always looking at things in terms of energy and patterns, and um, what's really driving things, or what we can know as to what's really driving things. We're never going to know everything. And from my perspective, the truth is that we co-create all of these things together, and what's going on is a co-creation from everybody's shadow. It's not just a bunch of bad people doing bad things on the planet. They are the characters playing out the result of everyone's negativity. And yeah, my honest perspective is the best thing you can do for anything and for anyone is to really meet yourself. The more you meet yourself, the less that is hiding, and the more that's hiding, as I said, like energy wants to move, and it needs and it will move somewhere. And if we're not meeting it in consciousness, then it plays out unconsciously. And that's what we're witnessing now. We're witnessing a peak collision of unmet energy, playing itself out because it needs to go somewhere. Energy is always seeking its balance, and if we don't witness it, well, then it manifests so that it is witnessed.
Mm, Yeah, like on a huge collective scale. So big.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It
Mm,
becomes unavoidable. And people
mm,
still can avoid it, but it becomes harder to avoid.
yeah. Yeah, and I totally agree with you. It's the more that you can look at it in yourself. But why can you just explain from your perspective why that is so connected to what's happening like externally in the world?
If you're really going to meet yourself, you're going to meet everything. And by that, I mean
Mm,
not just the parts of yourself that you can stand. And we all have um, the capacity for thoughts, impulses that can be hard for us to believe and or witness that we're capable of that. People don't want to believe that they can think, do, or um, want to do certain things, but it is all there. And if you're ready to go deep enough, um, you can see that. And it's just some people choose to act on it and others don't. And so, what energy needs energy to exist? And so, what co creates
mm,
events like what we've been witnessing? There's a lot of greed. Everyone's greedy in some way. Everyone is, even in a small way. And so all of that goes somewhere. And this is like, that's one example of what I'm talking about. Everyone puts themselves first in some way. All of that goes somewhere. And that's what we're seeing. We're seeing a few people putting themselves above others. But if
mm,
we're all really honest with ourselves, we all do things like that. And we've all got that in us. We just do it at different degrees to what we're witnessing them do it. But we still run that energy as well. And until we're aware of that, um, we contribute to the manifestation of that energy
mm,
playing out in our physical reality because it is in us as well. And especially when it's unmet and unrecognized in us, it's carrying quite a bit of voltage to it, which means the unconscious energy generating through the collective, whatever is not met in consciousness carries a large active charge to it, and it needs to discharge somewhere, and that's what we're witnessing.
mm. And then in the process of just becoming aware of it, do you think that's like because it's interesting that thing about, we all carry it within ourselves, but then in a way I see it, but then another way it's also like yes, but also no. Do you know what I mean? It's like
Mm-hmm.
maybe we have the capacity, but then some of us choose not to operate from that. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Place. But then I guess maybe that's when it is in the awareness.
Yeah, yeah. And there's different degrees with everything, and um there there's confronting parts to human nature. Like, that's just a reality of this experience. We don't all think lovely thoughts about everything and everyone all the time, and
Yeah, 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 yeah. True, true.
that's that's part of being in
Yeah,
polarity here in this experience.
yeah. Yeah. So I'm guessing you didn't get the injection and all of that jazz.
No.
So I'm just wondering how was that for you in that place where it was just going really. intense. How did you navigate that? And like I know you said you went in a lot, but yeah, yeah.
Um, a little hard to describe because I just was never going to get it, and so um
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. You're either in that space or you aren't, and
Mm.
I think if you're clear with that, you're clear with that, and that's what sends out. And I didn't. There were a lot of unknown and scary things at the time, but when I look back, I can see that life really protected me beautifully because I was very clear in myself about who I am and what I will and will not do.
Mm. And then what about the restrictions that were on you because of that? Did you find ways to navigate that?
Yes.
Love that. Like, of course.
Yes.
Love it. Yeah, because I think this is the thing of, we don't realize, but when you are clear, then that's the only thing that's going to happen, and you find other ways. But when you don't
Mhm.
know, and when you don't become so like sure, then those ways are not revealed. They're just not there. They don't
Mhm.
exist.
Mhm. Exactly.
Mm, yes. Um, yeah, wow. And then like for you, was it, I feel like because of your experience, it must have been, yeah, so obvious that it's just like, well, I'm not gonna do that.
Mhm.
Like
Yeah.
that's not happening.
I had gone through so much with my body, so that's the last thing I was gonna do to myself.
Mm, amazing place.
Mhm.
Yeah, wow. And yeah, for me, I feel like the past few years it's been really testing and like standing in your power.
Mhm.
Um, and I think that's also part of the journey, really, and where we are now. Um, yeah, did you feel like initiations in that respect with just the choices that you were making?
Yeah, they were endless for a while. It was like an everyday thing for quite a while at some points here.
Mm,
We really did go through an extreme experience, and it's
mm,
good to be on the other side of it.
mm, for now. Oh, so yeah, I feel like you sometimes share a bit about what's happening in like the community, and there's so many things and so many like traps, so many things that can just like take over your consciousness.
Mhm.
And I feel like it's just escalated.
Mhm.
And from reading your post, I feel like you're quite clear on this whole rigmarole,
Mhm.
you know? Yeah, what is do you want yeah, anything to just you wanted to maybe share about that and how, I mean, I guess how you got to that space with yeah, that it's happening externally. I guess it's so related to your journey.
It is the best. I suppose the best thing I could say is just really noticing exactly what your energy is doing, and you
Mm,
can't. I'm I'm never advocating to just like stick your head in the sand and I'm not meaning that before I say what I say. Like, I'm aware of what I need to be aware of, but there's a difference between that and now I'm going to get into, um, let's get in the drama together and let's keep talking about it. And
Yes.
yeah, let's just keep talking and talking and talking about it. That's your energy. Your energy is precious. And then apart from the quantum nature of reality, in the sense that you're literally you're telling your energy to instruct the quantum field, make more of that. I want more of that. Um, and then for yourself personally, that's your energy. Like, you could have created something with that, and well, you are creating something with that. You're putting it in the fear basket and the negativity basket, and you could have used that energy to literally change your life.
I think that's such an important reminder because, yeah, the end is your energy, and there's so much siphoning of energy that's happening. So
Mm-hmm.
be aware, where is your energy being taken away that you might not realize? And
Mm-hmm.
specifically, like within, even when you know what's happening, even there's so much division, divide and conquer, all that stuff, you know?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's such an important reminder.
People get very stuck on wanting to prove points.
Yeah.
And I think they're not aware that they're in that a lot of the time. And
Mm.
that's a
Yeah.
real hole for your energy to fall down into. To I want to prove the thing, I want to find the thing. I'm
Mhm.
going, I know I'm right, and now I'm going to prove that I'm right. And I feel like there was a time and a place for that. For me, I'm not in that anymore.
So,
I just,
yeah, so good.
uh, I just want to be present with myself and my experience. And when you are doing that, you're very aware what
Mm.
feels well and useful and what doesn't.
Yeah, yeah, that's totally it.
Hmm.
So was there a phase when you were doing, or maybe a little bit in that energy? And how did you
A
move through it?
bit, a bit in the beginning, when things really started to shift, especially here, it's pretty wild to witness the majority of your local population to not question something like that and walk into it. It's pretty, well, it's not pretty confronting, it's confronting. And then there's, the genuine intention of trying to um, inform people so they avoid harm.
Mm.
But yeah, had some very big experiences with all of that that ultimately got me to the point of um honestly, it's the body again. Like, it always shows up in the body, and I got unwell, and because I did have the relationship with myself, I knew what it was about, and that my energy was showing me very clearly, you need to stop putting your energy here, because
Mm.
you have made yourself unwell. And that's I've been through that so many times that's is all I needed to go, yeah, not doing this to myself, and just
Mm.
pull the cart off that track, so to speak, and reorient myself inwards again.
Yeah, that makes sense. I
Hmm.
think, yeah, I mean, it's okay to be in that space, but I do think it is important to move through it because, like you said,
Hmm.
it's the energetics of what's happening behind it.
Mm. There's a time, what I've learned from this whole experience, there's a time and a place to play the role and the energy of um, informing from well intention. But as I said towards the beginning, like we're not stagnant and energy wants to move. And um, you can't stay there. And apart
Mm.
from always tuning into my own patterns, I'm also very aware of bigger, larger collective and archetypal patterns that we're moving through. And I
Yeah.
feel like we shifted out of that, and a lot of people don't feel ready to let go of it yet. And when you don't, probably the biggest thing I have learned in my life is when you don't move with the energy moves you, and not in a well way.
Yes. Yeah. Just like, there you go.
Hmm.
So, did you also get into the Keylontic science?
Yes.
Yeah. And do you want to share a bit on your journey through that? Because I feel like well, you kind of just moved through it.
I did. What I would have to say about that is, um, and this is my perspective, there's some beautiful things that have definitely come through that. And what I would say from my experience is I came to realize that that information came through in a very incomplete way. Um, and that it was shared in a way that was not very integrated. And for me specifically, and my journey this time around, it's been very um, about connecting with things when it's time, but ultimately finding my own way.
Yeah. I mean, I resonate with that, to be honest with you. Makes sense.
Hmm.
It wasn't, it's incomplete.
Hmm.
And yeah, the way that it came through, the energy, it was a bit off from the beginning. I remember being like, wait, this is strange. Like, why is this person talking like that, you know?
Hmm.
But at the
Yeah.
same time, I learned so much and it was a big eye opener for me. So
Hmm.
I'm grateful for that.
Yeah.
But I feel like a lot of what we just spoke about gets caught up in there too, like
Yes.
proving the point, you know?
Yeah. There's a lot of and it's only natural, like being a human is well. There's a lot of undigested shadow with the way that stuff was coming through.
Yes, yes. That's a really good way of describing it.
Hmm.
And also that's just the template. Like that's just that. It happens like in many different spiritual practices.
Hmm.
Exactly what you described, yeah. So it's just to be aware of.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think there's actually a few people who also have like had to realize, you know, I have to, yeah, do this on my own and find my
Hmm.
own way. Yeah. Definitely for me, I just think I found so many things, but it's always been like, cool, now move. Okay, now go, you know?
Yeah. Definitely.
Mm. So how do you have any insights for the future, you know, this concept of new earth? this idea of us choosing a whole different way of living and existing and anything. Big question.
Well, it's a big question. What I have to say about that is it's something that I witness as wildly misinterpreted.
Really?
Um, Pardon?
Really? Yeah.
Yeah. I don't really want to contribute to that. I mean, there's so many different ways I could answer this as well. Like, it is a big question. This will not be a satisfying answer, but what is coming is um anything could happen, and that is a real answer. Like I'm really giving that as a real answer, and what I mean by that is we have the capacity to could create something like that. We do. But I feel a lot of people get very bogged down in attaching to the conceptualizations of things, and it actually becomes quite a distraction. And in
Mm.
certain situations, it actually transforms itself into another form of. It's kind of ironic. Um, it transforms itself into another form of dogma, which is the very thing that people are saying that is this next phase of evolution is about, moving away from that. And so
Mm-hmm.
my honest answer is I actually see the pattern um ironically repeating in on itself um to a lot of people that are genuinely well meaning, but one of the clearest things I can say is most people aren't where they think they are. And until enough people are there,
Mm.
things are a shared reality like this is it's not impossible. I don't believe that and I don't feel that, but it's a ways off.
It's a what?
It's a ways off, as
Ah.
in yeah. Depending on like whose information you're seeing, like a lot of people talk about things like it's the age of Aquarius and things like that. I don't agree with that. And it's not. I'm gonna finish my answer in a paradox, because really paradox um is the ultimate reflection of the nature of our reality.
Mm-hmm.
And so my answer is we could create this in an instant.
Mm-hmm.
Um, like we literally do have that capacity. That's not some pipe dream. We
Mm-hmm.
can, and that is quantum physics. Um, it's not likely to occur though until a lot of people get really, really real about where they really are at within themselves.
But how do you feel about maybe it will happen for the people who are ready?
Well, they're already already, this is going to sound elusive and I don't mean it to, but they're already there. And I don't mean,
Oh, yes.
I don't mean
Love that.
like they've stepped through some magic curtain. I'm not talking about that. And I
Yeah.
really do mean this. They're not attached. They're literally not attached to the energetic plugs of all the drama, and they're already present and coherent in their own clear state of reality.
Yes. Love that. So, just quick, do you think there is a magic curtain?
Um, if you want there to be, there is.
Oh
I
my
mean,
God, I love
sure.
it. It's interesting because you started off saying, I think that it's misunderstood. So I was like, oh,
Hmm.
what does that mean? Because yeah, it is a bit, and this it's like a metaphor, but there's so many different meanings to it. Do you know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
there's a practical level, and then there's more. You know?
Hmm. Well, this will sound a little corny, but what's real is real. If you want
Yes.
that to be the case, then be
Mm,
that.
mm,
And I mean really be
do
that.
that.
Don't just stick that on you as
Mm.
like some um
Badge.
avatar or identity. It's not an identity. It really is a state of being.
Mm.
And so if what we know for sure is that this is a quantum reality. If you want something to happen, then genuinely be it, and then you're it.
Love that. And what about for you? Do you feel like, like personally for you, I feel like you are definitely finding your way to avoid many, I mean, I don't know all the details about it, of those energy siphoning things. So yeah, for you personally, like I feel like yeah, what do you see? What do you see? Like are you gonna be opening those, the quantum stepping, or are you just more focusing on like actually, you know what, whatever, I'm happy with whatever unfolds?
Um, by that, do you mean like expanding my consciousness?
I feel like that's always going to be happening.
Mm-hmm.
No, just this, like in terms of like, I don't know, yeah, stepping in through the magic door, basically.
Um, well, not to sound in any way arrogant, but I feel like I'm there, and this will probably sound
Yeah.
frustrating, but um, once you're there, it's not such a big deal, and I think that's perhaps how you know that you're there. And so,
No, that's
I think a
exactly, yeah, sorry.
yeah, I think a good way to know that you are there is come what may in your day. It's good. It's all good, and you're here, and you're
Hmm.
just
Hmm.
here.
Love it. No, I'm really happy that you shared that because it's so, it's good to be able to I see that, to see the reflection, to know.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And then, I mean, it's also cool because it's just like, is it? And then, but then I don't know, do you see anything else about like living in the community or, yeah, like more? Is there anything more or are you just, yeah, just wondering?
Um, I'm in a space now where I don't need the world to change in any way for
Oof.
me. And so I guess
Mm,
that's the best way to describe what it's like. I don't need that. Um, Life's very simple and very clear, and as
Mm,
long as I'm here with me, everything's fine. And whatever else happens, it's really icing on the cake.
wow, I love that. That's so amazing. And also, I feel like it's such a reflection of, because I think, you said the misunderstanding, it's misunderstood. I feel like a lot
Mm-hmm,
of that misunderstanding is this thing of like protesting. We have to come together. We have to do this. We have to, when actually it's something you can do individually. And the process is you have to walk that journey alone, really. Yeah, we can
mm-hmm,
share with other people along the way and support each other, but ultimately it's a place you have to get to in yourself. Like you also said, to be that. So
mm-hmm.
it's amazing to see, yeah, actually this is it. Individually, it doesn't need to be this whole like change the world.
If energy is really moving you to deliver a message, go with it, and that's great. But if you're fighting because you need to fight,
Mm,
um, what you're really fighting is yourself. And until you're ready to meet that, the world will never satisfy you. There will always
mm,
be another fight that you need to have.
wow. So good. Yeah. Yeah, I feel like for me, this is what I share as well. The way forward is through you. You don't need anything else.
Mm-hmm,
That
mm-hmm,
phrase is so true. All the answers you have are with you within. And yeah, it's like this is how it works. Individually, we all have to come forwards and claim our power.
mm-hmm.
Yeah. And yeah, thank you for sharing. And, it's like such an affirmation.
It's very
Yeah.
true.
Oh man. Wow. Amazing. Thank you so much.
Mm. Who and what you really are is far more precious than anything you can fight against.
Ooh, wow.
And that's the thing that everyone is looking for, really. And
And,
that's what they're looking for in the fight. And
mm,
they're living in the pain of not feeling that connection, but they're looking for it in the fight. And when you stop the fight, you find what you're looking for.
mm. Even when you said that, it's also like protect your energy. Who,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
so yeah, thank you. Yeah, I'd like to finish on this question for everyone, which is, what does freedom mean to you?
Being clear, feeling love, just feeling everything as it really is and not needing it to be something else.
Mm, yeah, that can be a tricky one,
Mm-hmm.
but we can keep coming back to that for sure. We'll keep
Mm-hmm.
remembering.
Yeah, yeah, it's a good place to be.
Yeah, totally. Wow, thank you. I'm so happy, yeah, with this conversation. I'm really glad that you shared your journey. It's been really powerful, and it's amazing to speak to you on the other side of so much healing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I know sometimes when from that space, I know what you mean. It can seem like, I don't know, like I think you used the word arrogant, but it's not at all. It's.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's so important to share.
It's just simple, calm, and clear.
What a place to be.
Hmm.
Especially after so much like life. Life is just wild adventure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Mhm.
I'll put your Instagram in the below. So
This was great. I really loved talking with you.
yeah, I really loved it.
Mhm.
Thank you so much. Mm.
You're welcome. Mhm.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode and to this podcast. We hope that you can gain many insights through the art of listening. If you haven't already, we would love it if you can follow us on YouTube, on Instagram, and leave us a review on Apple Podcasts if that feels right for you. We've also just launched our first online course, Awakening 101, a ninja's guide to navigating your spiritual awakening, which is led by me and is offered via donation. So if you feel called to that, then please dive in. It's available via our website. Thank you.